With love.
There's really nice memories there, isn't there, Simon? Some really nice memories. I like that song.
The rods and everything. Just looking at these, you just have a little peach outside.
Oh,
Yeah, so everything is like simple. But the curtains, they took forever because we had
did you make them or?
No.
Service?
5 in class will begin.
Right, we're going home now, are we?
If you continue to misbehave, probably. I was going to be formal and say ladies and gentlemen, and I changed my mind. So I've got to say, friends of Henry, welcome. Sheila and I first talked to Henry in February '96. I was driving my car to Cincinnati Airport to go to Dallas. I got this phone call on my cell phone. It was Henry, and he knew somebody that we knew here. We had a little holiday home. We bought a house on Casey Key and was selling it, and Henry had gone to visit these people. He said, I'm interested in this place. So we did a deal on the telephone while I was driving, and they bought our place. And then I think it was probably September, they came over and we met with them to show them a few things about the property, and we went out to dinner, and that was the beginning of a
16 years.
Very nice friendship.
20-year close friendship, I think.
16 years it was.
And we did many things together. They would find places to go of interest at the weekends, so we do that. We went on some cruises together. We went to Spain together and played golf and things, and to Ireland. And on Saturdays, Sheila and Daly would go shopping, and they became very professional at that. I'd come home and Sheila said, look what I bought today. I said, Jesus, look at these bags. And I said, why do you buy this stuff? She said, well, I only buy it if Daly says I look good in it. I think Daly was getting a kickback from the store.
The thing about Dahlia, what Dahlia used to say, if I tried something on, because we all shop together, and she'd say, doesn't do a thing.
So you're out of order.
Excuse me. That was very rude, because you missed my end point. That she used to turn around to me and say, it doesn't do a thing for you. That was basically her saying.
Yeah, she was always very
It was
honest.
like, forget it, you know. So she was honest about shopping, which was good.
And everything else.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
And then she got sick.
Yeah.
She said to me in 2010, she said, I'm worried about Daly, she's coughing a lot. And I noticed that she got a handkerchief and there's blood. And I said, I think you should see a doctor. And she said, well, I'm going to wait till I get back to England. And when she did, she was diagnosed with lung cancer and she'd never smoked.
Lung cancer.
So they decided to remove the lung, and when she went into the hospital, she was ready for all that. And they said, well, unfortunately, we can't do this. It's spread and it's terminal. So it was living on borrowed time. She died June 7th, 2011. She and I went to the funeral, and they have, once the church service is over with quite a few speakers, there's go to the crematorium, and then there's the interment the next day. And Henry became depressed.
Oh, yeah.
And the family made him seek medical attention, and we think the medication he was taking affected him quite a lot. He wasn't the same guy.
He was kind of lost without Daly, though, I think.
I'll be back. Anyway, Tamara let us know that he was a danger to himself. In the house, they had a housekeeper, a cook for him to look after him, and he was doing weird things. And we think it was the medication. He'd take all the furniture and stick it at the front door, and they said, what are you doing? And he said, well, the moving people are coming. Make it easy for them. And then he got a pair of scissors and he was cutting off the wires off the lamps.
Oh my God.
So he agreed to go into a home, and he was in the home. We talked to him a couple of times. And then Tamara called us and told us he was in bad shape. He had a chest infection and he was declining. And then on the 21st, Sheila called me. I was up in Vermont, and she said Henry had passed away.
He's with David.
Well, it's probably good, you know, that he,
So I said to Sheila, I think, I'm sorry about this. I have to go to the funeral. So getting flights was not easy, and I couldn't leave till on Monday. The funeral's on a Tuesday, and I had 3 stops to get there. And the first leg was from Tampa to Atlanta. That was delayed 2 hours. I was supposed to go from there to Paris, Paris to Manchester. I ended up going to Amsterdam. And I was sitting next to a gal on a flight from Norway, and I said, the last time I touched down at this airport was 60 years ago. Can you believe that?
Wow.
So I got to Manchester, got the rental car, took off to Scarborough, and it was 2.5 hour drive. By the time I got there, it was too late. Church service was over, but the celebration of life started at 3 o'clock in the hotel that I was in, and so there was a nice celebration, lots of entertainment and fun. A lot of people that Sheila and I had met, a lot we knew to say hello to from a distance, a few that we knew personally, which was great. The family were very nice, and I had no sleep on the flight, and this party started at 3, and at 11:30 I said, guys, I have to go to bed. So we swapped a few stories, and Henry was an amazing man. He was an incredible entrepreneur. He started with a little wide and gradually grew, and he got into the arcade business, and he had multiple arcades. He was very successful. But like any true entrepreneur, if you're not prepared to take a risk, don't be prepared, don't expect to succeed. And he made some mistakes. He had a wine bar, and he had a movie theater. The movie theater I found interesting because he said late at night he found out that if you showed pornographic movies, you could get quite a lot of clientele. And then they'd send these reels back to the company they got them from, and he had a complaint and said, there's a problem with these film that you're sending back. He said, what do you mean a problem? I said, well, the parts are missing out of it. He said, what do you mean missing? He said, well, somebody's doctoring these things, so the projectionist that was working for them was taking a pair of scissors and slicing seams out of this thing and then patching it back together.
Very nice fun.
Taking out all the best.
Making his own.
Goodness.
That's pretty funny. Henry had a lot of stories. I think you've heard them all before. I've heard them many times. I think I could repeat a lot of them, but I was glad that I went. It was a quick visit. The weather was wonderful in Scarborough and Yorkshire. Down in the Midlands where my family was, the weather was horrible. I put more gallons of fuel in the windshield washer than I put in the fuel tank. So, but that's why it was, and I'm glad that I went, but I still can't believe he's gone.
Well, you did a good thing there.
Well, we were
It's a
very
hell of a
lucky.
trip. Hell of a trip.
We were
You know the guy and you had a good time.
time.
If you've got any stories you want to share,
Yeah.
please do. And the family know we're having this little gathering today.
Oh, it's nice.
And we're going back in September, Sheila and I. We made reservations in Scarborough in the hopes of seeing Henry.
Yeah.
So we're going back there anyway, and we'll just touch base with the family.
You can go and spend some
go back to
hours
it.
in the amusement arcade.
And
We could do a Skype. It was a
his
bit
daughter
hectic.
called us, and you can put this thing on, for instance. His daughter said,
Sorry. Oh, no, you're kidding me. Oh, wow. You
Here we are, the audience of the Scouts.
You belong to me.
I was very short.
wow.
What was the question, Elaine?
Was that his son there in the grey suit, one of the pallbearers?
Yeah,
And,
William and Liam, wasn't it?
This is his
Oh, that's
next That's his sister in the black and white.
I mean, honestly.
Isn't it?
So,
Oh, that was.
handed out at the church, which I think you'll find quite interesting. And at the end, the recessional music was there's no business like show business. And so we thought, before we end this evening, we found that number on our karaoke system, we thought we might sing it. So anyway,
Oh, why not?
You've
Absolutely.
got some around there, she. And
Oh,
there's Simon.
It wasn't exactly being Broadway, but
how lovely. How lovely. Audrey? Oh,
thank you.
bless.
Mary Marshall,
You stay there.
1930.
Yeah.
Today.
There's 3 here.
Oh, okay.
There's 3 here.
We got plenty of them.
Yeah.
Alright. So if anybody wants to say anything, now's a good time to say about Henry. Elaine, thank you.
About, I don't know,
There we are.
10 years ago? Maybe
What?
a bit more than that. We went over to England to spend
Yeah, that's
New
right.
Year with some friends at Armouthwaite Hall in the Lake District. And Henry and Dahlia said we must go and stay with them on the way back. So we drove down and the weather was awful in the Lake District, which it always is. And we drove down through North Yorkshire, and it's a part of England that I don't know very well. And even then, at the beginning of January, it was absolutely beautiful. I'm going to get all emotional now. They had a big dinner party. We stayed with them for 3 nights, and they had a big dinner party with lots of friends from here. And these people had all known each other since they were teenagers. They'd been at school together. Because I think Dahlia and Henry kind of knew one another when they were kids, because their families were all in the same business. And then the next night we went for fish and chips in Whitby. They were like the best fish and chips I've ever
Yeah,
had.
we did that.
Really,
That's a
really
very
good.
That's a very famous chippy.
Yes, that, what do you remember the name?
Oh, we had to go up little wooden stairs to get upstairs. But
That's a very
good.
Probably with a magpie.
Wonderful. That's the thing.
Is it?
Yeah, the magpie.
I know it was the first time I had
Oh, that's upstairs.
Oh, sorry, darling, because
No,
you know what, you're on the,
Henry and Dahlia for
now, darling, be quiet.
Oh, it's nothing, I have nothing to say.
No,
Well, we
yes.
stayed with them for a week when we were in England, and they
Did
took
you?
us,
I didn't know that.
and we had a wonderful time. We spent time at the arcades, and the weather was wonderful.
Really?
Fantastic.
And
Baroness.
we
Yeah.
sat on the beach, and it was really lovely.
Yeah.
When was that?
We had a
It was
wonderful
funny.
time. You were asking
Really
me?
great guy.
No, I mean, stop. A few years ago, okay, that guy.
A couple of years ago.
I didn't know you did that.
Yes.
Well, didn't they
That's
come and
really
see
good.
you? They came and saw you though, didn't they?
That's
as
right,
well,
they came
in
and saw us.
Warwickshire, yeah.
We
Oh.
had a good time.
Oh, in
I
the
just
little
love
passage
them.
with the steep stairs.
They were such,
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
Oh,
It was
just
just
open
like
it.
when you're
Yeah.
there, you felt at home,
Yes,
you
yes.
know? It was,
But that's what Malcolm said, that all the family, they all, expat families,
yeah,
particularly.
I met all the
all
children,
together, yeah.
you know,
yeah.
at the arcades and
Yeah.
everything. And
Brilliant.
I thought, holy crow, that must be a hard job running arcades, you know?
No harder than anything else.
No, not a coffee
Well,
shop.
making all that change, you mean?
Yeah, right, bringing all that money.
Carrying all that
Oh, yeah, okay.
Coffees and of life. When Frank, your dad, died, I remember you had
Yeah.
the most marvellous celebration of his life at your
Yeah,
house.
but
I remember that well.
Yeah.
You did.
And Eileen had the same for her on
Yeah,
Bobbery's,
yeah.
Bobbery's stuff.
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Do you remember
Yes.
the Greek evening at your house?
Oh, I do, my God.
And he couldn't get in, they wouldn't accept him, but he tried really hard, and he was invited to go to a member guest thing, so he played there, and he called Dahlia and said, Dahlia, I need a suit and my shirt and tie to go to the dinner. And they, at the time, they had a Rolls Royce, and he said, can you bring it over for me? He said, so we're all outside, on like the paddy having drinks. And here comes Dahlia in this rusty old freaking Toyota truck that we had. In my suiting. He said, that didn't help me get into Ganton either.
The best story ever is the story of, I know what you're going to come up with, it's the same, isn't it? When he was going to
The Masons,
the Masons, and he'd been a naughty boy, he'd been out, whatever, carousing and
And he
stuff.
was in the roller, wasn't he?
Yeah, and but no, not that. It
well, they wear
gloves,
formal
you're
attire.
and
Gloves.
gloves, and he had to get up to do his little speech at with his apron on and all the crap they wear, these guys. And as he put the gloves on, do you remember it? As he put the gloves on, all the fingers dropped out.
Oh
She spent the night cutting all these fingers out. That was the funny story.
Did you know he was a Mason?
No,
I didn't. Was he a Mason?
Yeah.
Ah,
that
He was the
very
president,
nice.
and he had to wear all the gear, and the local manager came that night
Yeah.
to greet him, and of course when he put the gloves on, all this crap fell
All
on
the
the floor.
fingers dropped out.
And he bought a V12 Jag sports car, and he was out late, you know.
Oh,
Sometimes those guys get out there, and we try to come home, but people prevent us from doing that.
Yes, it's there.
And he came home, and he didn't have the front door key, and so he's banging on the door, and he's down looking through the mailbox, which you've got in the doors in England, and he said, "Daddy, for Christ's sake, open the front freaking door with it." And he said, "I could see her at the top of the stairs, and she came down, she opened the door, and she got a hammer."
This is the story.
He said, "I ducked," and he hit the hood of the V12 and went in the windshield and shattered it.
Oh, God.
So he had some eventful
Yeah.
times.
That was the story that he told
Those
us
were
when
the
we went
days,
up to stay.
But
She just was always so generous, and had gone over there for dinner, Herb as well. And she had like a zebra rug on the floor. And I said, "Oh, I really like that." She said, "Here, take it." I said, "No, I can't take your rug." Yeah, and I went home. It was in my house for a long time.
Well, no, you know it's very fitting for you. You haven't got any.
And she would always muster up a dinner out of something.
I
And
know,
we'd end up
she was
eating
the
it.
best.
Immediate.
And she made, it was no effort.
I
Just
know.
come to lay the table and she'd made a meal.
I know, amazing. She was amazing.
She was amazing, really. She just sort of threw it all. I mean, to me, I do dinner and I'm always in a panic. Not daily, just threw it all together. Great.
I remember the sauce was bubbling within minutes, everything was bubbling and boom, 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 boom on the table. And then cleared away very quickly.
Christian, they used to drive these big trucks.
Was it his father's business?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how that actually started, Christian. But I think he was the sort of guy that had his eye on stuff that could make some money.
They made a lot of
And
money.
he had a lot of them in York, a lot. I don't know how many, but a lot.
But it was slot machines and they were legal?
Oh yeah, really.
Yeah, they weren't gambling machines. They're,
Like, you win a
pinball machines and all that kind of
so you win like a
stuff.
stuffed toy or
Amusement
something?
arcades, they called them.
But Dahlia's family actually were
But the
circus
circus
as well,
people.
circus people.
That's why I put my
Father was
circus
an
in.
elephant trainer.
Yeah, it was.
But then he told us about a machine. He said
Dahlia's father.
his friends were telling him the
It's
business,
the
the
circus.
machines to buy. And he said, "I bought this machine, a big round thing." He said, "What it does, you roll a coin in, it shoves money forward."
Oh, yeah.
He said, "Well, when the pound coin came in England, ooh, those things were going." He said, "Well, underneath, when you open the door, there was a cap shaped like a pipe shape." He said, "They were full of money." He said, "And we couldn't move them." He said, "We had to get a chain around it on the back of the vehicle and drag them out of the machine. There was that much money."
Wow.
And when things changed in England,
That went on.
pounds and taxes, he started to buy bullion. I mean, this guy was quite
Something with the
amazing.
machines that made them.
And in the show business, like show business, like no business, I know. Everything about it is appealing.
Everything the traffic will allow.
When you're stealing extra round.
There's no people like show people and smile when they are low. Yesterday they told you you would never go wrong.
toxic and firelights, the people
Sorry about that.
Maggots from the lake tasting
the soils and the horses and the sheep. The town taken from the lesser town. There's no business like show business. Let's smile when they all know. You get wet before the show starts. That's your friend.
No, we're not going to do very well.
That you're mortified, you're broken hearted, but you go on. There's no people like show people, they don't run out of dough. Angels come from everywhere with lots of jack. There's no attack. Where would you get the million? Scenery to make up the props, the audience to lift you when you're down. The headaches, the heartaches, the backaches, the flumps, the cherry flu escorts you out of town. The opium in your heart eats like a drum. The drugs make your customers come.
There is no business like show business. There's no business I know.
Everything around it is a feeling. Everything you try to roll out. Nowhere could you get that happy feeling when you are stealing.
There's no people like show people.
They smile when they are low.
Even with a dirty